Hello, and welcome to the End in Mind podcast. I'm your host, Caitlin, the owner of Macarie Media Management. The End in Mind is a place where we come to share stories, tips, and strategies of many entrepreneurs, creatives, business owners, and just some people that aren't willing to live the traditional lifestyle. We talk about how to live outside of the box today and how to incorporate what really is important in your life to keep that end goal always in mind. Again, if you would like to reach out to me in any type of way, you can find me on Instagram at Macarie_media_management. And I hope to hear from you all soon. Thanks so much and enjoy our show. Hey everybody, welcome back to the End in Mind podcast. I am your host, Caitlin. I have a lovely guest with me here today. I'm really excited to chat with you, Nina. Thank you so much for being here.
Hello, Caitlin. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so grateful that I'm here to have this conversation with you.
Oh, yes. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day. And we can't wait to learn more about you. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do and, a little bit of your story, and then we'll kind of dive in.
My pleasure. So at this moment, I help female online entrepreneurs find relevant stages so that they can share their message, their mission, and their expertise and connect with potential clients. My main focus are podcast interviews. So I help my clients find those podcasts that are a good fit for them so they can show up on those interviews.
I love it. It's awesome. And can you tell us kind of how you got into this line of work, like, your story?
Well, actually, I stumbled on this thing because when I started my business, all I knew was that I want to help other moms grow their businesses. Because I was a stay-at-home mom for more than 5 years, and I was enjoying this flexibility. When I got back to a 9 to 5, oh my God, I felt so chained to the desk. I felt that I have no time for myself, for my family. And 9 days in, I quit because I just had this idea that I have to help other moms. I did not know how I was going to do that. I just went home, Googled work from home jobs for moms, and I started as a social media manager for a fitness coach. But I did not enjoy that because I had to post 3 times a day and it was too much for me. Yes. But then I started finding more Facebook groups and I was trying to look what I could do. And based on my previous experience, I used to work for the government in my country. I live in Romania. Mm-hmm. And having this admin background, I thought that I could be a virtual assistant. But the problem was that maybe it was this brain mommy fog or whatever it was. I did not have confidence and I did not know how to stand out. As a general virtual assistant. So I thought, okay, one thing that I have to do is I have to specialize in something. So I started taking courses on Pinterest and then on building WordPress sites or building funnels. But I was not enjoying that. Once I was doing that for me, somehow it was missing something. And then at some point, I'm seeing this masterclass on podcast pitching, and I knew this is for me. This is what I want to do. Luckily, I did found an amazing client. She is a Brazilian living in the US, and this was 5 years ago. And to this day, we still have an amazing relationship. Actually, right now, she is one of my coaches. And this is how I got started. And then she referred me to a friend of hers, and that was the beginning. And I wanted to learn more about this industry. I also took a course as a podcast manager. And funnily enough, I know that a few episodes ago, you had one of the Rosemary.
Yes.
And yes, we are in the same group for podcast managers. Yeah, what a small world,
Yeah.
this online world. Indeed, indeed. Yes. So this is what I do right now. And lately I discovered this private podcast that I'm in love with them, and I would love to dig into that more and see how it's going to go from here.
Yeah, that's so interesting. So is it kind of like a private podcast within a group where people pay like a subscription or something? Or how does that work, a private podcast?
So if you have a private podcast, you will decide how you want to use it. You can use it as a lead magnet. You can use it as a subscription, as you mentioned. You can use it, for example, to host an online summit,
Cool.
or you can use it as an add-on to a program or a course that you have so that it's easier for people to consume the content.
Ooh, I love that. Yeah.
Yes, me too. Me too. I mean, I love audio. I love audio since I was a little kid and I was listening to the radio with my grandfather. This is such a dear memory of mine.
Great.
And yes, and for introverts is I don't know, it works well.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Like I am one of those like introvert extroverts. Like I'm an only child, so I really enjoy alone time. Like I don't always need all the stimulation. I'm also a highly sensitive, which a lot of our listeners are as well. So like we're so easily overstimulated. And I find it really interesting that you brought up the course with the private podcast because I find when there's slides, like for my learning capacity,
Mm-hmm.
I get overwhelmed. Like I will get stuck on the slides or think that I need to be like writing every word down. Like this totally happened to me when I was all throughout school too. And when I would just sit and listen, I would actually consume more, of the education and knowledge than like scribbling down every single word. So I love that that's where the podcasting industry is kind of headed. And I didn't even know about this, like I feel like you can be in the industry and you have no clue what's coming next.
Exactly. This is what I love also because I can somehow use other sense or not other sense, my imagination actually. And I get inspired. I always like when I'm listening to a podcast, I have either a notebook or my notes on my phone because I am sure that I will get an idea. I will have to write something down because if I don't, then the idea is gone by until I finish that podcast. So I love using my imagination when I'm listening to podcasts.
Yes. And there's something with the visual, like even on YouTube, it can get a little bit like a lot, like it's just a lot happening at once. So I love that you mentioned that the imagination part of it, because a lot of us highly sensitives, like a lot of my listeners identify with that as well. And we would rather imagine things,
Yes,
and see that.
me too. Like I am a dreamer. I could spend an entire day just dreaming and imagining things. But then on the other hand, I also take action because I think that is important too. And I make things happen because it's not enough just to imagining and dreaming. We
Yeah.
need to take action.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something we talk about on the End in Mind here a lot. It's kind of like, we holistic, empathic business owners would love to get business by dreaming all day and, manifesting and basking in the sun, but in reality, we have to do some of that work in order to get there. And a lot of the reasons why we're not probably taking action, for our listeners in this sense, if you aren't taking action, it's probably because a belief is under there, or there's a reason why you're feeling, abreast to really taking that action, because it might not even be a block. It really can just be something that is taking a while, when it comes to taking action in your business. And it might just take time to unpack some of those things. But in today's world, it's hustle, hustle.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. I mean, when I started my business, I thought that all I'm going to do is to work behind the scenes because I thought that only those people who are meant to be business owners, or they have successful businesses, only they are meant to show up on podcast interviews or in magazines or whatever. But if I would start all over again, I would start here. I would start connecting with people and networking more and being more visible.
Oh, I love that. The visibility. And I'd love for you
Yes.
to share more about how that's impacted your business and your clients' businesses. Even from my point of view, like a lot of people reach out to me, they want me to optimize my podcast, and my first question is always like, are you going to get me to the right people? Because it really doesn't matter if somebody's like just clicking and listening to my show for 3 minutes, I need like longevity. So can you explain how you approach that with your clients and what that does for their businesses when it's done correctly?
Yes, absolutely. So over the time, I came up with this framework that I called pitch. When I start working with them, the first thing we are going to do is what I called prep your message. So I included here not only their expertise, what is the number one thing they want to be known for, they want to talk about on interviews, because it's not enough to just say, well, I want to talk about entrepreneurship, or I want to talk about business or female empowerment. Like, this is such a broad topic that people are, I don't know, maybe are tired about these broad topics. And what I've seen also is that the pitches have slightly changed. When I started, this promo pitch was still working. I call a promo pitch a pitch where I would write you an email and I would just tell you how amazing I am, but I would not mention anything about you or your podcast or your audience. Right. So this is clearly no longer working. So in order for me to help my clients, I need to know who their ideal clients are.
Yeah.
And then what is the solution they provide and how they could help them, what is the transformation they provide? Right. All the things. And then also I have them craft a bio and a one sheet so that I can send that when I pitch them. So I put all the details in one place because it's so frustrating. Like when you have 3, 4 clients, 5, and then you don't know where you put one bio or, what is the core message of the other one. So I need to be a little bit organized in order for this to work. But even if you do this for yourself, it's so easy to have a folder that is going to be your speaker folder and put all the details in there.
Yeah.
So this is where we start. We are going to prep the message and all the other details so that you can move to step number 2, which is identify the right podcast for you. So you will consider an audience that is aligned. We are going to have complementary businesses, right? For example, if my main message is around visibility, and specifically on podcast interviews, I would maybe look for other types of visibility through social media or maybe confidence on camera. And I would search for those people because I know that if someone wants to be confident on camera, maybe they start with podcast interviews because it's less terrifying. Even if now we record on Zoom, sometimes it's not needed to be on camera. So you can start and practicing for podcasts, and then you can move to the next step. So then it's also important if you are going to use, for example, those podcasting platforms like Apple or Spotify, to check if those podcasts take guests and if they are still active, because sometimes I found amazing podcasts, but they were no longer airing new episodes. So it's going to be a waste of time to reach out to them. right? And when you are here, depending on how confident you feel with your speaking skills, and if you don't feel very confident, you can start with this warm outreach. I mean, you are going to reach out to people that you already know, you feel comfortable chatting with them, so it's not that intense or scary as if you are going to reach out to those people that you don't know. And not all of them have this pre-interviews. So you will just meet them and you will start the recording, and it might be a little bit intimidating, maybe.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. So start with those people, with those people that you know, get more comfortable, and then you can move to the cold outreach. And these are my main research tools, are the podcasting platforms and then the Facebook groups. And then from there, you can expand on Google, and you can find a list in specific industries, for example. And to be honest, you can spend a lot of time researching because there are more than 2 millions or billions, I'm not sure. Like, there are a lot of podcasts out there. And for sure, you are going to find amazing podcasts.
Yeah, I love what you mentioned about really doing the research behind if these podcasts are active.
Yes.
My own experience that has, come up frequently. Like, I have studied public relations, so definitely, like, if they are not taking guests on or having interviews and then you pitch them, it's kind of like womp womp, like all the credibility is gone at that point. So
Yes.
I think that's a great point, and I just wanted to stress that for our listeners too, if they do decide to go out, and do this on their own too.
Exactly. And more than this, you will have to look at their website and social media channels. Some of them will have a form on their website, and they will tell you, do not pitch me, I will delete the emails. So again, it's going to be a waste of time if you don't pay attention to those details. And also, you have to take a look at their previous episodes because, for example, I had a client and she had a few episodes on how she quit being on Instagram. I mean, first she tested for 30 days. She did not post anything. And then she only let her team handle the post. I mean, they were only putting the audiogram and maybe a post here and there. And then she completely stopped using the platform. But still, she had people teaching her how to grow your business using Instagram or TikTok, and she was not interested at all in this topic. But if you would have scrolled a little bit, you would have seen those episodes because she talked a lot about this experiment. So you have to pay attention that your topic will align to their message that they put out there on their podcast.
Yeah.
And once you've done the research, it's time for step number 3. I called it tailor the pitch. Here is important for you to stop sending those copy-pasted messages because I'm sure that you as a podcaster can tell the difference. You can tell when someone is going to do a little bit of research and yes, it's true. It's going to take a few more minutes for you to craft a personalized pitch, but that one is going to stand out. Because as I mentioned, promo pitches are no longer working. And I think it's funny when sometimes my clients were getting those pitches that started with just, hey there, or hello. And then yes, they were mentioning an episode, but it's so easy to find the name of the episode. If you want to mention an episode, then you have to be more specific. I mean, mention some key takeaways, or I don't know, something that really stood out to you or that was relevant for you as a person. So, because And you are putting so much effort in this podcast, right? You are taking the time to record, you are taking the time to edit, and the uploading and the promotion. So I'm sure that you will want to feature some people that really care about you and your podcast. You are not interested in having people that only want to brag about how amazing they are or that they were able to accomplish this or accomplish that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not the right place.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is why it's so important to tailor each pitch. Just take the time and personalize the pitch.
Yeah.
Once you've sent the pitch, it's time for you to create the system. Because it's easy to send the pitch. Maybe today you felt inspired, you did that research, you found 2-3 amazing podcasts, you sent the pitch, but then maybe some of them are busy. Maybe I've had podcasters who got back to me and they told me, thank you for following up because my husband was sick or I was doing a launch or whatever. Like, they also have their life. And how many times, just think about it, you open an email on your phone and then you get distracted and then it's gone and you don't remember. So if that person is not going to follow up with you, maybe you lose an opportunity.
Yeah.
So this is why it's important to create a system, because you want to remember when to follow up or what to do if they say no, thank you, or what to do if they were said, yes, I would love to have you on my podcast. But not all of them have a form that you as a guest can fill out. Some will say, okay, let's do this. And then you will have to ask them, so when are you available? Because maybe they don't even have a calendar link. I've seen some of them proposing like 3 available dates.
Yeah.
And then you have to send them your bio and maybe a headshot. Because as I mentioned, if they don't have a system so they can collect all this info, you will have to be the one that is going to send the information, because otherwise you will end up before the interview and you will realize that they don't even know who you are, and it's going to be a little bit weird.
Oh my gosh, that's such a good point. Yeah, sorry to jump in there.
No problem. So I think it's important to have the system, and also it's going to help you in creating this new identity as a speaker, because I've read Atomic Habits. I really related to this. You know, if you want to be a speaker, then when you wake up in the morning, you need to think, so what do I have to do today? Right. So what do you do as a speaker? Well, you reach out to people, you make the ask, you take care of all the details, like when is going to be the interview, what do you want me to talk about? Like, you ask more about the audience and all the things. And what works for me is to have a Google spreadsheet. This is how I start. And then once I get a yes, then I will move all the details in Asana, because there I can put in all the reminders that I'm going to need, and it's easier for me to know exactly what I have to do every day. And then final step is hit or handle the interview. And here is not only about the logistical things, like it's important to have a great audio if you want to be a great guest, right? So making sure that you are wearing headphones if you have any, or you have a good mic and you are in a quiet room. For example, I let my family know that I'm recording now, because, I have kids and they are usually used to come in and ask me things, and then I will lose my train of thought. So it's going to be a little bit weird if they, come in 10 times during an interview. And also, it's important for you as a guest to share stories.
Yeah, I love what you shared. I think that your strategy, even just for our listeners to hear as well, like exactly what Nina described can be applied to every area of your business. And when you really want to be an entrepreneur, you have to have some sort of system. And how she described that she uses Asana, like for me, my Google Calendar is my life. Like I go there, everything's there that I need to do for the day. If it's not on the calendar, it's sure as hell not getting done. Like that's just how I work. And each individual ends up finding their way as well. But I love that you mentioned and stressed the importance of really targeting and making this work for you as a business owner. It has to be both ways. The host has to like you have to like the host, and it has to be able to play well off of one another, because if not, exactly how you said, people can feel that. They feel that through the tone of voice and in the energy of the recording.
Absolutely, yes.
My gosh, it's so great. And thank you so much for taking us through what it really takes, to really launch a podcast business and also really get yourself out there. And can you share with us a little bit more about what your clients have seen, from working with you, and, how much it's been able to grow their businesses or grow their visibility? And I love what you mentioned about the confidence aspect of yourself early on. And I'm sure you've been able to help your clients overcome some of that too.
Yes, absolutely. So usually my clients are podcasters, so they are used to putting themselves out there. But other than this, what I've seen is that they were able to either write and launch a book. Others were got featured on TV. One of them did a TEDx talk. So yes, they did other amazing things that you can do as a business owner. So I feel that this was just the first step for their visibility, and then they did other things as well.
Yeah, that's amazing. It does feel
Yeah.
so good when you come off of a podcast interview and, if you can ride that wave, like it really feels awesome. I even like me interviewing other people, like I just live for it, it has to kind of be passion for sure.
Yes, and then other clients told me that, for example, a listener of the show they were interviewed on reach out to them and invited them to speak on that podcast. Yes, and then another one sent me a screenshot where a client sent an email. She said, "Okay, you know what? I've heard you on this podcast. I'm ready to buy from you. Tell me, how can I work from you?"
Wow.
Yes.
That's amazing. And just for our listeners here too, I think like just how you mentioned, when you get pitched all of this stuff and it's early on in business or it's early on in this podcasting journey, like whatever stage you might be at, it can be so overwhelming. It's like, which person do I choose? Who do I work with? But I love that you mentioned that, because when you can step into it, when you find someone as lovely as yourself to work with and help you keep motivated throughout this process, the sky's the limit from there.
Absolutely. And you can start small, because sometimes people are afraid because maybe I'm not, one of those big names out there. So what should I share? But you have a story, you have your expertise, and there are podcasters who are just starting out and they will need guests. All you have to do is to genuinely connect with them and see if you are a good fit.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned that as well. The genuineness behind this
Yes.
is huge. Yeah, you really just be yourself, right?
Exactly. I'm all about it. Like, this is what I love to do, because I love, meeting new people, and I love networking events, having those conversations. Even I will, as a guest, I will have my own aha moments, and I feel this is such a great reward.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I always say like my guests teach me so much. It's kind of the same thing with my clients. Like, sometimes
Right.
they say stuff and I'm like, wow, like that was groundbreaking. But yeah, it's all an opportunity to learn. And I love that you mentioned that as well. Like I find I get some of my best information from interviewing someone like yourself, even, sharing your process and hearing how strategic it can really be. Because even myself, I have a podcast. I might not be going on other people's podcasts as much as I should be. And how can I
Mhm.
start to really gain that visibility and also build back up that confidence? Like I love to speak. So it's really awesome to hear you share that. And can you tell us how our listeners can get in touch with you and what is the best way for them to follow along with you and learn more from you along the way?
So my website is oneluckystar.com. You can find me there, and I usually spend my time on Instagram. My handle is Nina_Macarie, and you will find me there on Instagram sharing some tips and behind the scenes. And I also have a free checklist,
Ooh,
if I can share it, so that you can best prepare to be a great guest. You will find it at oneluckystar.com/free checklist.
awesome. Yeah. And we'll have all the links in the show notes for everybody below as well. So if you're multitasking, doing all the things, screenshot it, hang out with Nina and I over on Instagram. Yeah, as you guys know, we've been promoting this episode all week. So you can also check out Macarie Media and find her link there as well. Reach out to me if you would like me to personally connect you to her. I am always happy to do that for you all. So thank you so much for being here, Nina. This was awesome.
It was my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, Caitlin.
Thank you so much for listening to The End in Mind. I would like to remind you all, if you haven't yet reached out to me on Instagram, we are at Macarie_media_management. It will be in our show notes as well. If you would like to reach out to me, we always offer free coaching through Instagram based around our Instagram training and our business Instagram practices. If you need any type of support, please do not hesitate to reach out to me there. And we also offer several different types of consulting and training packages if you're looking for a little bit more in-depth tips. So thank you all for listening in, and of course I want you all to keep the end in mind as you continue with your day and or work week. Have a great week, and I will see you all next time.